Chaser Report is recorded on Gadigal land.
Striving for mediocrity in a world of excellence. This is the Chaser Report.
Hello and welcome to the Chaser Report. I'm Charles Firth, and with me today is @DomKnight at Twitter.
Yes, for now anyway. I've just got the tick. I've got the tick. You lost yours,
You got
Charles.
the tick. Did you pay $8 for your tick?
I did pay $8 for the ability to undo my tweets. No, not for. I don't think that's happened yet.
What?
So
You're giving money to Twitter?
I signed up to the old Twitter Blue because I wanted to be able to view threads and I wanted to be able to undo.
Yeah.
Because I often tweet something and realise it's a bad idea and want to edit it.
Yes.
So I paid for that, but paying for the tick, no, of course I'm not going to pay for that.
So the big news today is, of course, that Twitter's imploding.
It's over.
And as part of that, we changed the Chaser, which of course has a blue tick because we're a very important media organisation. We changed our name on Friday to Elon Musk.
And have you been restricted yet?
Yeah, we've been suspended, and we've got to change our name back to the Chaser to get back our 270,000 followers on Twitter. Now, you've got to realise that Twitter is actually probably our predominant form of broadcasting, especially at this time of year, right? Every tweet that we make that goes out about, say, a whole lot of avocados that we've got to sell, or our annual, or our live show, spins off thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars worth of ticket sales and merchandise sales, right? The fact that we're suspended now and we're going to stay suspended on a point of principle is a stupid idea. I think we should just rewind it and try and I don't know what to do.
I just looked up Chaser on Twitter and it didn't come up. The Chaser's account did not come up in the first things that came up. It was like Craig and stuff. And then eventually I clicked on a link to @Chaser and it says there's been some unusual there's a warning. There's been some unusual activity from this account. Do you still want to view it? And I clicked yes, and it got to Elon Musk, not Elon Musk. And then the Twitter account's still there, but they're certainly warning against it. But, I mean, is it still ticked? It's still got a tick.
I would warn against
I'd warn against
Chaser's Twitter account
I presume
any day of the week, really.
It's an automatic thing. But no, a lot of people who've criticised Elon Musk have actually been restricted. I mean, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the congresswoman from the Bronx, who's one of the leading kind of leftist congresswomen, she lost her whole account for several hours. She couldn't do anything. Basically, if it's free speech unless you have anything negative to say about Elon Musk. I mean, what a shock that a radical free speech activist is more interested about their free speech than other people.
It's almost as if he's not pro-free speech. No, but let me tell you the tale, though, of why he's actually genuinely imploding, and it may actually lead to the complete destruction of Elon Musk as a billionaire.
Really?
Yes. Which is, and because I don't think many people understand exactly what's going on, which is just as he was taking over Twitter, in the same week that Elon Musk took over Twitter, the social media companies, all of them, like Facebook, Meta, Instagram, all that stuff, but also TikTok and Twitter, all had to do a thing called New Fronts, right, which is every year television stations announce their slate of television programs for the next year, and they're called upfronts, right? And they pre-sell about 20% of all their ads to the big advertisers. And so, soap companies and Unilever and all the Coca-Cola buys, tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars worth of ads for the next year, right? And so Twitter had the New Fronts in the same week that Elon Musk was taking over. Now, in the week leading up to Elon Musk taking over, and just as he'd done that sync gag, the N-word had increased 500% on the Twitter platform. And Elon Musk had just announced that he was going to sack 75% of the staff, including at least half of all the moderators, right? And he'd sacked the head of brand safety, which is the person who the advertisers trust to make sure that, their brand is not going to be showcased amongst a whole lot of Nazi, hellscape, dystopian fuckwits, right? Anyway, the day before, there's going to be this big presentation where advertisers are already a bit cautious, a bit wary about Twitter. The guy who was actually going to do the presentation at the New Fronts for Twitter, he also quit.
Oh, wow.
Right? So that meant that Elon Musk had to turn up and do the presentation himself.
Did he really? Why haven't I read about this?
So I know this is the great story.
Because
Well,
he's
this is the
famously
story
bad at presenting. Because he's let's just say his ability to relate to ordinary human beings is a bit limited.
So he turns up. Most of the people are on a call, like it's a big conference call. It's like a Zoom call, and they're all representing people who buy $30 million here, $40 million here. Normally, Twitter would expect to make about $800 or $900 million out of that Newfronts presentation, right? Booking from all the big advertisers. Audi might book $10 million. For them, for Audi and Unilever, Twitter is it's like a pack of gum. It's like, something that you pick up as you're doing the rest of your media buying. You're mostly giving it to TV stations and, it's a little bit, a lot to Facebook, most to TV stations, and, we'll get some Twitter as well. So they don't really care. They just want assurances that their brand is not going to be surrounded by these horrible neo-Nazis and completely unmoderated content. So they say to Elon Musk, the first question was, what is the plan, Elon? And the thing is, he didn't have a plan. He didn't have a single plan because he couldn't say, well, there'll be more moderation because he was sacking half of his moderating staff, right?
Yes.
So the whole presentation was apparently, because several people have now published accounts of that phone call, people started cancelling their entire ad buy on Twitter during the phone call. By the end of the phone call, like half the audience had actually just dropped off going, this guy's just bullshitting us. Like there's one big media buyer who just went, nah, this is all just bullshit, not going to engage.
That's fascinating because
instead of
comparing this with his tweets, Charles, because he's been getting so angry about woke advertisers.
Yes.
And he had a poll about whether
yes.
advertisers should care more about free speech or kind of woke principles. And of course,
yes.
free speech won. But unfortunately,
yes.
Twitter polls are not binding on his advertisers.
Yes, so that is what happened. All those tweets were in the wake of
now it makes
because
sense.
The previous Friday he'd done this disastrous presentation and completely stuffed it up. And guess how much money they raised on Elon Musk's presentation? And normally it would be 800 or 900 million. Guess how much got pre-sold that day?
3.
No, it was 15 million.
20. I was going to actually get 20. But so
it was 15
so
to
he's just
20
paid
million.
$44 billion kind of largely personally. He got money from the Saudis, who of course love free speech and content moderation.
Yes.
And he's taking it himself. That is fascinating because the thing about Elon is
And so Twitter doesn't have any income next year
and
to do all its
the
fixed
content
costs.
moderators in Australia. I mean, the Australian office was already downsized. There's no one pulling offensive stuff. So how will they get advertisers back, given that advertisers, if he knew anything about the industry at all, he would have tried. It's just fascinating. When you look at what Zuckerberg's had to do, apparently his kind of council that makes he's got an independent council that makes content decisions that ban Donald Trump, that's at arm's length. Apparently it cost him $250 million to set that whole thing up properly so that it was arm's length and no one could ask him, is Trump allowed back on the platform? And Elon sacked all the people he had rather than hiring more. Because he thought, you don't need that. That's silly. All you need is engineers. His view was Twitter only need have engineers and it will become a wonderful playground. Has he never been on a message board? Like any unmoderated message board becomes a honeypot for Nazis and pedos in 5 minutes. It happened to the Chaser message board back in the day that I used to run.
So, but Dom, I sense a perfect opportunity for the Chaser here.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Oh, I don't know. What are you thinking?
Let's buy Twitter.
No, what? No. We're not going down that hellscape. No. We don't need to buy Twitter, Dom, because Twitter doesn't have any advertisers anymore. I reckon what we should do is we should offer to take over all the advertising inventory from Elon for like, I don't know, $10 or something.
What a good idea.
Because he's got like $900 million worth of advertising inventory just sitting there.
Oh,
and
so
we can run, and that's how we sell.
advertiser.
That's how we sell our Christmas merchandise, which you can buy at chasershop.com.
Are you worried though, Charles, about ads for the Chaser appearing alongside neo-Nazi pro-Elon tweets?
Well,
it's not gonna make our reputation any worse, is it?
Yeah, in this world, you got to make sacrifices, Dom. You got to say, do the ends justify the means.
That's certainly what Nazis would say. I know you've got a lot of inflatable avocado toys that you need to sell. Is it really worth being the main funder of, NaziGathering.com?
I don't know. I mean,
I can see the argument.
Sort of like what would Volkswagen have done?
What would Goebbels have done?
What would Goebbels have done? That's sensible.
I mean, it's such a
I feel like we're
irony.
bordering on tastelessness.
Yeah. Let's be very clear. The Chaser's stance is anti-Nazi. If that needs to be said.
And anyway, our account has been suspended.
Oh yes. Well, actually, that'd be a good way to get them to unsuspend the account.
Yeah,
buy
all their ads. But I reckon the one thing that we should do is all go across to Mastodon, because that's been the trendy thing to do. So on the weekend, I set up charles@oz.social, which is the Australian Mastodon instance, is what it's called.
Are we calling it Mastodon or Mastodon?
Or is it Mastodon?
Mastodon sounds a little bit like a circle jerk, which, to be fair, is like most social media sites.
Well, apparently, when you get a really long debate on Mastodon, it's called a masturbate.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. Well, I signed up years ago. I can't remember why. Something happened where a lot of people sign up to Mastodon. And so I'm Dom Knight at mastodon.social, but it's not going to be as good, is it? I mean, it can't possibly be as good.
If we all go across and hang out, this is the amazing thing. So Mastodon, I think, has had something like 250,000 new users in the last 24 hours. So literally about 40% of my interesting feed on Mastodon is people who were on Twitter last week, right?
Yeah.
And you're just going, if this actually continues, like within a few weeks, it will be as interesting as Twitter, and the entire use of Twitter will be gone.
Well,
and
then we can buy
it'll
it.
just
I
die.
want us to own it. I think that would be fantastic.
See, this is what we should have done, because Tumblr ended up being sold for $1 million. Like after it was bought by Yahoo for $1 billion, they then sold it for $1 million. And I remember Cam and I at the time, the Chaser editor Cam, and I said, if only we had $1 million, that would have been a good purchase, right? And I think it's the same thing. Like Twitter's going to have cost $60 billion, but he'll end up selling it for $1 million.
We'll buy it. We'll buy it.
Yes.
And look, if nothing else, you'll be able to sell your avocados on it.
Yeah, to Nazis. We'll sell avocados to Nazis. That's our business model from now on. Anyway, you can join me on my new TikTok account. It's at Charles Firth. And let's just say I've got the whole dancing bear meme working well.
The great thing about TikTok is there's no chance of Nazis on TikTok. I mean, you will be owned by the communist government, but it's Nazi-free. Our gears from Road, we're part of the Acast Creator Network. We'll catch you tomorrow.